Hello, sports fans, and welcome to the Scott Sports 101 Thursday night football and Friday night and Friday NFL recap. So we got two games to recap for you, and I am gonna give you a trivia question for that Friday one. It'll be a Dolphins one. Uh, and so we'll get that for you momentarily. And if you missed it this afternoon, the uh, Ohio State, the Ohio State Wolverines lost to uh, to the Michigan Wolverines 30-24 today, and I was hoping the Dolphins could do it, but they just were not. They struggled today, but I mean they look good, but they just and it just was not a good day for the Dolphins today. Dolphins do come up short, so I really was hoping we'd go 12-0, but did not work out that way. Okay, and here is today's trivia question. What were the last names of the Mark brothers? Uh, and I'll have that answer later in the podcast. I will have it for you. But right now, we're going to recap the first game, which was the uh, from Thursday night, which was the San Francisco Seattle game, and the Seattle the after running two touchdowns and helping San Francisco beat the rival Seahawks for a fourth straight time, Christian McCaffrey was going to enjoy his celebratory meal. The fact it was a Thanksgiving feast on Seattle's home field made it even more delicious. That was a satisfying turkey, McCaffrey said, and a satisfying win. McCaffrey rushed for 114 yards, two scores in the first half, and the 49ers built a 21-point lead by halftime, enrolling to a 31-13 victory over the Seahawks Thursday night. The 49ers are now 8-3 on the season, won their fourth straight against the division rivals, and have a two-game lead in the NFC West over Seattle. San Francisco won its third in a row overall, following a three-game losing streak, and picked up its 10th consecutive victory against a division opponent. McCaffrey was terrific, running through arm tackles and breaking off a handful of big plays. He rushed for touchdowns, eight of eight and 1 yards, excuse me, and the 49ers built a 24-3 halftime advantage. Debo Samuel ran for a 2-yard touchdown on San Francisco's opening possession, and Brock Purdy completed 15 of 20 passes in a nearly flawless first half for the 49ers. We had advantage in the first half, but that third quarter was tough and gave them some life. Niners coach Kyle Shanahan said. Uh, Purdy threw an interception that was returned for a touchdown by Seattle's Jordan Brooks early in the third quarter, but avoided any other major miscues and put a capper on the victory with a 28-yard scoring pass to Brandon uh, Ayuk with 7:51 left. That sent some Seahawks fans heading for the exits. Ice in the veins. He's such a good player, McCaffrey said of Purdy, excuse me, and he makes plays all over the field. And watching how consistent he is back in the huddle, he's never too high, he's never too low. Anytime he's got the ball in his hands, if there is a play to be made, he can make it. Purdy finished with a 21 of 30 for 209 yards. And while he didn't have the perfect passer rating he did last week against Tampa Bay, he outplayed the quarterback on the other side. Seattle's Geno Smith was playing banged up after leaving last Sunday's loss to the Los Angeles Rams in the second half with an injury to his right arm near his elbow. He'll have more bumps and bruises after the 49ers got finished with him. Smith was 18 for 27 for 180 yards. He was sacked 6 times, threw an interception in the first half, and nearly had a few more throws picked off. And the Seahawks' first 5 possessions gained 15 total yards when Seattle tried to rally in the second half. Smith took a couple of untimely sacks. The first half of this game, we couldn't get out of our own way enough, Seattle coach Pete Carroll said. Smith also ran to argue with an official after there was no flag for a defensive holding or pass interference on a throw intended for Jackson Smith Najibia in the end zone that would have given the Seahawks first and goal late in the third quarter. Seattle settled for a field goal and never threatened again. From my vantage point, I could clearly see him getting held, and it affected him being able to catch a touchdown right there, Smith said. Seattle's last chance at a rally ended when Zach Charbonnet was stopped on a 4th and 1 at the San Francisco 21 with 4:14 remaining. The Seahawks 6-5 lost for the second time in 5 days and have dropped 3 of their last 4. Seattle has scored just 3 offensive touchdowns in the past 4 games and has only won in its last 8 quarters. It's been tough. It's been a tough stretch for us, but I believe that things will turn around, Smith said. And San Francisco's 6 sacks were spread around. Nick Bosa had 2 sacks to give him 7.5 for the season. Javon Hargrave, had 1.5 sacks, while Tayshaun Gibson had and Arik Armstead each had 1, and Kevin Gibbons was also credited with a half sack. The 49ers had 15 sacks in the past 3 games. It's funny, after the game, nobody has any idea what their stats are. That's a good problem to have, Bosa said. Seattle appeared to bench starting cornerback Rick Woolen in the first half, replacing him with Michael Jackson. Woolen was not announced as having an injury and remained in on special teams. Carroll said afterward there were concerns about Woolen still dealing with a sore shoulder, and that's why the change was made. Woolen missed a couple of tackles early in the game. Now, Seattle right tackle Jason Peters left late in the first half with a shoulder stinger and was replaced by Stone Forsythe. Peters did not return. San Francisco's backup safety George Autumn sustained a biceps injury and did not return. There is concern it's a torn bicep that could sideline Autumn for a long period. Now, up next, 49ers are at the Philadelphia Eagles next Sunday on December 3rd, and the Seahawks are in Big D at Dallas next Thursday night. And so I've got to give credit to where credit is due, and that is I got to give it to the 49ers, the game balls. Brock Purdy, 21 of 30 carries and attempts, 209 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Christian McCaffrey, 19 attempts, 114 yards, 2 touchdowns, and Deebo Samuel, 7 receptions, 79 yards. So the Seahawks got their work cut out because they got a big task with Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys in Big D. So they know what they have to do. We'll get to the Miami and New York Jets game in just a moment. But right now, it is time to reveal the answer to today's Scott Sports 101 Week 12 NFL. It was for Friday's game against Miami and the Jets, and it is, what were the last names of the Mark brothers? Whoops. And if you said Clayton and Duper, you are correct. Mark Clayton and Mark Duper were Marino's favorite receiver, were Dan Marino's favorite receivers in the 1980s. And I will have another trivia question on my next podcast, which will be tomorrow, the early and late games pregame show. So stay tuned for that. And so stay tuned for that. Now we're going to get to the Miami and New York Jets game, the Miami Dolphins and Jets game. So boy, the Jets just didn't struggled offensive and defensively, and Tyreek Hill got into the end zone, found his new wife in the stands, and tossed her the ball for a special celebration. The game got even better for the newlywed Hill and the Miami Dolphins. From there, Javon Holland returned an interception. Returned an intercepted first half Hail Mary attempt, 99 yards for a score. Raheem Mostert ran for 2 touchdowns, and the Dolphins cruised past the New York Jets 34-13 in the NFL's first game played on Black Friday. And it was at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. It was a momentum swing going into the ball, Holland said. They threw a Hail Mary and kind of a desperation. They knew we were getting the ball after the half. The boom, you just let up a touchdown. Tagovailoa was intercepted twice, including one return for a score by Brendan Eccles. But Miami was in control for most of the game. The Dolphins were now 8-3 on the season, cushioned their lead atop of the AFC East by sending the Jets to 4-7 on the season, their 4th straight loss. Tagovailoa finished with 21 of 30 carries and attempts for 243 yards, with a touchdown to Hill and 2 interceptions. Tim Boyle started at quarterback for the Jets in place of bench Zach Wilson, but New York's stagnant offense failed to get much going other than Boyle's 1-yard touchdown pass to Garrett Wilson with 4:37 remaining. I think we shot ourselves in the foot too many times, said Boyle, who was sacked 7 times. 7 times he was sacked. That is not good. You gotta find ways to get in the pocket and score, to run the pocket and score. The Dolphins took a 10-0 lead when Tagovailoa connected with Hill, who avoided a tackle attempt by Jordan Whitehead and zipped into the end zone for a 7-yard touchdown. With 8:21 left in the second quarter, Hill took off his helmet, found wife Tita Vaccaro in the stands, and blew her a kiss before tossing her the football. The two were married during the Dolphins' bye 2 weeks ago. You know what's crazy? You know what's crazy? That question. Thursday night, my wife says she's going to order tickets right here close to the sideline, so make sure you score in this end zone, said Owen, who couldn't haul in a TD pass on fourth down on the Dolphins' opening possession. They dropped the first touchdown pass, Hill said playfully. She wasn't on that side. That was a nice hat she wore, hat that could stand out. I could see her from 100 yards away easily. Hill's touchdown catch was his 10th of the season, making him the first Dolphins player since Mike Wallace in 2014 to have double-digit touchdown receptions. With the Jets offense struggling, as usual, the defense stepped up to get them into the game. First and 10, the Dolphins 27. Tagovailoa threw a short pass intended for Braxton Berrios, but Echoes jumped the route, intercepted the toss, and took it to the end zone. The usually reliable Greg Zuerlein was wide right on the extra point attempt, and Miami's lead was 10-6 with 58 seconds left in the opening half. DJ Reed intercepted Tagovailoa on the Dolphins' next possession, giving the Jets the ball at their 49 with 2 seconds remaining. Instead of taking a knee and going into halftime, down by 4, Coach Robert Saleh opted for a Hail Mary, and it went embarrassingly wrong. And boy, did it ever. Boyle's throw into the end zone was picked off by Holland, who took off down the field, weaved his way past some would-be Jets tacklers, including Boyle, and took it untouched. We took our shot off the interception to try to get one more score, Saleh said. Just a very unfortunate play at the end of the half. The Dolphins went went wild on their sideline. The Jets stood stunned on theirs. That was crazy. Miami wide receiver Jalen Waddle said, that was one of the best plays I've ever seen as far as timing. It was crazy. It was a crazy play that we needed. Excuse me. Meanwhile, Jets fans headed for the concourses, shaking their heads after another brutal half of football for their team. I've never really seen or been a part of anything like that, Boyle said. But it's a good learning experience. Mustert's 13-yard touchdown run in the first play of the fourth quarter gave the Dolphins a 27-6 lead, and tempers flared after that. There was some pushing and shoving between several players after the extra point, and the Jets' C.J. Mosley and Michael Clemens were flagged for personal fouls, including Clemens appearing inadvertently making contact with an official. Clemens was ejected. Dolphins right tackle Austin Jackson was also kicked out of the game. Munster added a 34-yard touchdown run with 3:35 left. Hill finished with 9 catches for 102 yards and the TD, while Waddle caught 8 passes for 114 yards. Hill has 1,324 yards receiving, breaking Julio Jones record 1,305 for the most yards receiving in the first 11 games of a season since the AFL NFL merger in 1970. Boyle making his fourth NFL start and first since the 2021 season with Detroit was 27 of 38 for 179 yards and a touchdown with 2 interceptions. Uh, Dolphins, Holland left late in the fourth quarter with a knee injury, but he said he's fine. Linebacker Jalen Phillips was carted from the field in the fourth with an injured Achilles tendon. It doesn't look good, Coach Mike McDaniel said. And left tackle Teron Armstead left in the third with a uh, quad quadriceps injury. Well, the Jets have a lot of work to do if they want to get winning, and they've got Atlanta coming up. They host Atlanta next Sunday on the 3rd, and the Dolphins are at Washington next Sunday on December 3rd. So we'll see if they can go to 9-3 and if the Jets can get back on the winning track. But I've got to give credit to where credit is due, and that is to the Miami Dolphins, and they get the game balls. Tua Tagovailoa, 21 of 30 carries and attempts, 240 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Uh, Raheem Mostert, 20 attempts, 94 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill, 9 receptions, 102 yards, 1 touchdown. This was one of those games where the visiting team just had control of the game for a good portion of the game. So then Miami prevails. And I took Miami for that one. So my brother-in-law Eric Coelho, we are both right now 3-1 in the picks. So well, you'll get the rest of our picks of the week tomorrow. So that's just about going to wrap it up for the Scott Sports 101 Thursday Night Football and Black Friday NFL Week 12 postgame show. I'll be back with the postgame show with the early games pregame show, Browns and NFL Week 12 early games pregame show tomorrow, and everything else. But until then, always remember, be a team player each and every day in every way possible. So long, everybody. 3, 2, 1. I'm done.